appropriation?
I think that a lot of
I
people.
think they're. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think that a lot of people seem to misunderstand or misrepresent not only the ways that cultural appropriation can be used, but what it even really means as like a definition, right? People assume that it's like, oh, Americans are like having Japanese things, that's cultural appropriation, when that's not true even remotely. Cultural appropriation is more in terms of like trying to like divulge something when it's not exactly like home to accuracy, right? Like, I guess the best example for cultural appropriation is if you have like a if you have like a bunch of Americans, and it's like I said, it's just a bunch of Americans, and they're like wearing quote unquote traditional Native American clothing, and they have like the feathers in their hat, and they're like, "Look at me, I'm Native American." That is cultural appropriation, because you're adding, these stereotypes into a demographic when the demographic doesn't actively contribute to those stereotypes, right? Um, a non-example of it, where people would think it's an example of it, but it's not an example of it, is like having, I guess a somewhat decent example is having a bunch of like white scholars in Africa, studying the what's it called? The savannas, I guess, right? Where people are like, what about all the Africans that live there? Yes, Africa is mostly full of Africans. That is fair, but there is also a lot of, scientists and people like that who are there because they work there, right? That's not people. There's a lot of people who are like that's cultural appropriation when it's not. Those are very separate and completely different things. One is trying to insert other characteristics of other traditions and cultures into your own, um, which was the first example, and the second example was trying to integrate further into um, other cultures or subverting other cultures by non-traditional standards, aka
Mhm.
being yourself in a culture of like being surrounded by a culture that isn't like yours and either adapting to their culture or being yourself.
I think the main thing to keep note of is like I guess like cultural appropriation would be more like in a disrespectful manner towards the culture which is being appropriated. So like with the Native American example with the clothes, like Native Americans have been treated pretty poorly by both American people and the American government for pretty much since the U.S. was in existence.
Yeah,
So
and even slightly before it as well. Yeah.
so to see like so to see, for example, like white people, not that it's necessarily a white problem inherently, but
Yeah,
um
just as an example.
to see like a white person dressing in like traditional Native American battle dress, uh, and like taking on like Native American stereotypes seems disrespectful, and with like flippant disregard for the history of Native American culture.
Hmm. I think where the slippery slope comes in is when you have people who I think a big problem is that there's sometimes different incentives behind it, right? Where you can lead into the problem where it's like, are they trying to be like offensive or disrespectful, or are they just trying to be like, hey, how's it going? I'm a part of you guys, or I want to be more like you and I want to don the traditional clothing. I think, I think the thing
My
is, yeah.
so my mom is well, she didn't grow up in a she didn't grow up on the res, but she always goes around talking about how she's Aztec native and how like she feels the same like struggles that other natives do, and I sit there and I'm like confused because I I don't know.
Well, I would suppose it just depends on the person's background, which obviously at a glance is hard to judge. But
She's white as heck.
she's white as heck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think pulling out like a small percentage that isn't really relevant to your upbringing, right? That's kind of like pulling on strings, right? What you never want
Yeah.
to do is be in the position where you're trying to pull on strings where you're like, trying to pull at any sort of points to defend your point, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I am like 150th black. That means I can do and say anything that black people can do or something like that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
yes, sure, maybe that's correct, right? But is
But
that
then the
relevant to your
question is,
upbringing? Did you go around, with everybody having the thing of like, oh, he's the black guy, right? Because if it's not relevant to anything, then it's not really a part of you, is it?
yeah.
It's more of just like an interesting fact. It's an interesting fact that you wouldn't have known if you didn't take that DNA test, right? Like, you don't have to take a DNA test to know that I'm mostly black, because you just look at my dad, right? Like, it's not even a question. But, and that was a part of my upbringing, mostly because, as like being the son of an interracial
Morning, Oi.
family,
Oh,
and
Oi. I
being
really
mixed
want
and
to eat
being
ice
part of
Whoa!
both communities, right? Like, I was heavily integrated into what I would like to
Oh,
call the
this
black
dog.
culture of
I
like the
could not the
people,
sunflowers. Oh,
hanging
do you?
out in like small, isolated black communities, and then hanging out with what I like to call the people, even though I'm vastly oversimplifying it,
Oh, the
because
rain has
there's
stopped. Come with me
a
and
lot more
if I
important
watch
details,
it's
like, oh, well,
Allie.
they're actually German, and they're not really like, they're like European white, right? They're not like American white, which is very different. Being a part of those different groups, those were a part of my upbringing. Those being being shuffled in between those different groups was a part of how I grew up. So I think it's totally fair for me to justify anything that I say related to race when it comes to black or white, because I have a significant stake and say when it comes to both parties. But if you're like, oh man, my great 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 grandparent was black, it's like, who the fuck cares? Is it relevant to your upbringing in any way? Were you in any way affected by black culture and hang out with a bunch of different black people and had no family members and shit like that? If not, then it's unfucking relevant. It really doesn't matter. As kind of weird as that is to say. And in which case, going back to the point of like cultural appropriation, so now they're like, oh well, my great great grandfather is black. You know, should I be allowed to? Or I guess a better question, because black people and white people, in terms of culture, uh, in terms of like social culture, as far as like clothes and whatnot, they're mostly the same, I would say. So I guess a better example of like, would it be weird if you were like 1/8 Japanese and you're like, I'm gonna go to a Japanese ancestry national fest and I'm gonna like wear all these traditional Japanese clothing and try and blend in? Is that weird? I don't know, because on one hand you could be like, why is this white guy here? This is meant for Japanese people, and we're supposed to be celebrating Japanese ancestry. Why is this dude here? But at the other hand, it's like, I'm just trying to, support and, specialize in this small part of my life that I would like to know more about. And I would like to be more heavily integrated into it because I think it's cool. I like the fact that I'm 1/8 Japanese, and I want to be, I want that to be a better part of me, even if it's not. So
Are
that's kind
you okay?
of. Sorry.
What started
I
this
feel
rant?
like I feel like at that
God.
point it would be at the discretion of whoever's holding the event and mostly like people of, that race. But then at the same point, like it could easily also turn into like oh, only purities in this race are allowed, and that could be a no-no as well. It's confusing.
I think I think it it mostly comes to like whether or not you're being isolationist or if you're being inclusive, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have in my mind it seems weird to have like a party. If you're living in the US, it seems weird if you're having a white party where you bring in a bunch of white people who are celebrating how they're white. And it's like, look at all the things white people did in the past. But it doesn't seem as weird for black people. And I think obviously a part of that is because blacks are the minority, right? They're only 13% of the US. The vast
It's
majority is
Well,
white.
also that
I
I
think
think
that's
a
what.
lot of white stuff, it's like thrown in people's faces every day. You don't need to throw a party for people to recognize it because it's recognized in schools and in the news and in media.
And especially in
That's
history, right? Like
yeah,
most of history, at least in terms of like the government for the United States, most of the history was white history. Blacks weren't allowed to be any part of government up until like, the 1910s and shit. So
yeah.
it's ingrained in the history, and looking at and picking out the small individual pieces of like we're going to share our, recognition for the first black, senator and stuff like that. I think that makes sense. I think that's kind of cool. uh Even if it might feel weird if you're like, we're gonna show recognition for the first white, senator since 1950. It's like weird. I don't know, but I see what you mean.
Okay.
You saying there,
Also,
Daniela?
there. Anyway, sorry. Also, there's like no way that there would be in any place in the United States that there would be like a first white senator since 1950. Uh,
Yeah.
um, I think we can draw a parallel with like gay pride and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason that straight pride is seen as weird and potentially homophobic since heterosexual people have been
The norm.
what about this? Not just the norm, but that also that the so like for example the U.S. government actually hang on, yeah, I'm gonna back up, but yeah, heteronormativity has been the standard for a while, so it seems weird to celebrate something which is already normal.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like, obviously, as and I think this is going to be the case for a while. I don't think any amount of, being more like proud of like like all of these LGBT stuff, right? I don't think any amount of that is going to change heteronormativity. I think that's always going to be a thing because I think there's always going to be more like straight people than LGBT people. Of course, that might change, but I don't think that's necessarily something that's going to change anytime soon.
Okay,
That
what started this?
I don't.
I'm actually confused.
I think, well, we started off talking about cultural appropriation,
Yeah,
because
but why?
because we were talking about the developers being like Japanese and having in Americans and stuff like that, and we were like, would it be weird for an American studio to represent Japan in different ways? I think this was before Double A joined, if I remember correctly. This whole
No,
conversation.
I interjected with weebs.
Yeah, you did interject with weebs, right? But yeah, we first started off talking about some like, if is it an American company, and would it be weird for an American company to make anime and like appropriate that kind of culture and feel it like, because it's not really Japanese, but anime is a big part of Japan. That's what it started off as.
Oh, so do you remember Bill C-16?
Bill C.
C-16?
C-16?
It's a Canadian bill.
Why the fuck would I know it then? I'm not Canadian.
Because a lot of people in like not just Canada, mainly American, as far as I can remember, threw a massive fit about it in like 2016 and 2017.
Is that related to LGBT stuff?
Yes.
That's
Would
what I
you like
thought.
to know what C16 does?
Yeah, what does it do without going into too much detail?
Okay, so there's the Canadian Human Rights Act, which is, protects human rights. Basically like non-discrimination stuff. All C16 does is it adds gender expression and gender identity as protected grounds. So like you can't
Interesting.
discriminate against someone based on their gender identity or expression.
Gotcha.
But a lot of mostly very stupid people took that as meaning that you are not allowed to misgender anyone or else you go to jail.
Gotcha. I see. Yeah,
Thus the internet shitstorm.
I heard a little bit about that, but I didn't get too wrapped up into that one at the time.
Wait, so if it's not misgender someone and you go to jail, what is it? What does it entail?
So basically, you know how you can't discriminate against, like you can't like refuse to hire someone because they're black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was gonna give next to this.
So that
Basically the same thing, but for gender identity as well. You can't deny someone like a job, for example, because they're trans.
gotcha. But like you won't get fired yourself for accidentally using the wrong pronouns.
No.
No,
Gotcha.
that happens way too commonly,
Yeah.
and without malice for that to be enforceable.
I think that for the foreseeable future, I think people, and I'm obviously totally, subject to this as well. People are still not used to using non-gendered third-person, what is it? Yeah, third-person pronouns.
A lot of people don't believe that non-gender exists.
That's true.
That's
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah.
A lot of people are just like, male or female, right? Which, from a scientific standpoint, is not even true for some people because there are intersex people, but
That is true. Yeah.
obviously not including intersex people because that's like, obvious, right? Everyone's like, well, obviously if you're like you have a dick and a vagina at the same time, it's totally fair
Well,
for
some
you to
people
be like,
even. Did you know there used to be a, I think it was like a penile test or whatever, but basically if a girl had a clit that was too big, right?
mhm,
They'd chop it off because
yeah,
they didn't want her to be both or whatever.
mhm,
If you want to get technical, the scientific literature around sexual identity, essentially the thought is that sex isn't a binary, but rather a bimodal distribution, where most people tend to be on one side or another of a spectrum between masculinity and femininity. But
Are,
there are a lot, potentially infinite amounts of different like positions along the spectrum.
are you talking about sex or gender?
I'm talking about sex.
You're talking about sex? Okay.
Maybe infinite is a bit hyperbolic, but
Well,
there are
infinite
a lot
makes
of different
sense.
things.
It's just that on the spectrum, there's definitely more dots scattered. The density of these dots would be closer to the ends or a very little bit away from the ends rather than in the middle because there aren't that many people who are exactly in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, for sure.
there's two modes. There's male. There's the or on the masculine side, there's one mode, and then on the feminine side, there's another. So two yeah, two modes. And most of the population is distributed around one of those two modes.
Yeah, one of those two sides.
And even then, isn't sex also determined by your
Chromosomes.
hormonal
Well,
levels like
actually,
testosterone?
there's a thing called hormone wash, I think. I haven't done much reading about it, but basically the hormones that you're exposed to before birth can actually influence your chromosomal makeup.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. All I remember is that um, basically everybody has, well, not everybody, the vast majority of people, like 99.99%, have two chromosomes, and it's either XX or XY. Everybody has X. Everybody has one X, and you know what determines if you're male or female, like biologically, is if you have one X or one Y. Obviously, there are general exceptions. Uh, like I said, in the case of like intersex or people with abysperomia. I don't know how to spell it. I would have to look it up again. But yeah, for the vast majority of people, they fit on like one end or the other, which is why they're like, oh, okay, well, we have this and we have that. And I think in a curious case, I'm actually curious to see if, because a lot of people make the assumption, or not a lot of people, but there's a lot of people I hear talking about some like, oh, well, for humans we have like all these like trans people and all of these people that aren't quite male or aren't quite female, and they're kind of somewhere in the middle. And I'm curious if that also applies to other animals as well. Like if there's like fish that are like not quite male and not quite female. And I'm not talking about clownfish here.
Okay, yeah.
Because I was say, I know clownfish can go. I
Oh
think
yeah.
they change from male to female depending on if they need to be male or female. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, in terms of biologically,
Male seahorses tend to develop embryos similarly to the way mammals do, new research shows. Oh yeah, that's right. Male seahorses can get pregnant.
yeah,
That's cool.
I knew about that. Yeah, which is weird because if that's the case, then what is even, like, from a biological standpoint, what is the definition of a female then? Because to me, I mean, obviously I'm not like a biology nerd, but to me, when I think female, I think the part of the species that produces offspring. If you don't produce offspring, or if you provide something for the other species to produce offspring, then you're a male. If you produce the offspring yourself, you're a female. And I think that's useful in terms of categorizing the different, like, species. That's useful. But if you have people who are like, actually the male produces, or the male is the one who, gives birth, I'm like, well, what the fuck does the female do? And why is it called a female, or why is it called a male if it's the one giving birth? That ruins the definition that I've been going with for the longest time.
Female is the sex of an organism or part of an organism that produces non-mobile ova, or egg cells. That's the definition that Wikipedia gives.
So does the male give birth but doesn't have eggs? How the fuck does that work?
Maybe the
I
female
guess
puts
the
the eggs
female
into the
has a
male's
penis.
body.
Ooh, that's a potential. That would be an answer I would accept, because that would make sense.
I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. It's weird.
And let's not even get started on asexual reproduction, where apparently fucking animals can breed themselves and reproduce by themselves. Or not animals, it's mostly plants if I'm not mistaken, but yeah. And fungi and shit.
I
don't want to use sexual reproduction. I just want to use division.
Division. Division.
I don't remember what it's called, but like like how bacteria like split in two.
Mitosis?
Mitosis?
Osmosis is also a thing, yeah.
probably mitosis, yeah.
There's mitosis and meiosis. One is that it splits. I forgot the difference. I know there was a difference. I
Part of
learned
the
it in
cell
biology,
cycle.
10th grade, and I forgot the difference.
Chromosomes separate into two new. No, I don't think it's mitosis. I don't think it's mitosis.
Mitosis is something splitting. It might not be the egg, but it's something splitting. Because I
The dick.
specifically remember it's I mean if I if that's the case, then boy did I do my diagram wrong. Because I remember specifically creating a 3D model diagram. Like I had like a little box jar where and I had like eggs, like real eggs, chicken eggs obviously, and I like put them in the box, and I had like yellow jello and shit like that. And I remember splitting it in half to demonstrate meiosis. And boy, if it had something to do with the dick splitting, then I was way off.
Binary fission. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay, so not what I was thinking at all. Never mind.
I'll catch up. Leave it up to me.
No, I knocked the enemy off the cliff.
I saw
Oh,
that.
I
Was
still
that?
got the stuff for it.
Were you not trying to knock them off?
Someone
No.
needs assistance.
So you were swinging at
another
them a
report.
whole fucking bunch.
I was trying to kill it.
Someone needs assistance.
Uh,
Let's see. What do you got for me, Xenorak?
Xenark.
Let's see. We're dealing with aimbot. Another fly hacker. Maybe some wall hacks.
Is there fall damage in that game?
Yes.
No, not you. In Genshin.
Oh.
I think you roll, but I maybe I haven't fallen high enough for it to do anything.
Gotcha.
Let's see. How do I open this?
F. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Wind one. I need the wind one. Shit, and there's no teleport waypoint here.
Telepo.
That's upsetting.
Oh, that's far from everything. I'm
Yeah.
assuming you can't swim that way.
No, you have to do a little puzzle over here, and it takes you up here. And I'm pretty sure the only way back is waypoint teleport.
I
And
thought
I
that
need
said
to.
Dappa Dupa.
I need wind. I think this is a wind sigil thing. What type of chest is this? Okay, then
Shavani.
maybe there's something cool over there.
That nice pop in for that rock.
Yeah.
Textures.
Texture just loaded in.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nice screen tearing too.
Oh man, I have to spectate.
Oh.
It's interesting.
You're doing
little
what to
stuff.
Tate now? No, I'm kidding.
This map is so big.
Man, I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, holy fuck, that's huge.
I've only unlocked a very small part of it.
I thought the map for what was that game? Fuel was big, and actually, I mean, it's still big. It's fucking massive.
Well, I'm gonna have to go reattune my character to the right thing and then go back and do the puzzle again, I guess. Hopefully this time I can get a little chest
Got my
and not get killed
Bojack,
by enemies on the way.
fighting Bojack.
Wait, you were trying to unlock the
Like
chest? I thought you were trying to unlock the little black
never
statue thing.
There's
No.
oh no, the black statue
Ooh.
thing I need to resonate with Animo. It'll give
Woohoo.
me wind powers, and then I use the wind powers on the statue and it will unlock the chest.
Aw
Ah, I
man,
see.
ETF. Too bad I have to spectate this dumb hacker.
Sad.
He could be a smart hacker. In fact, if he's hacking the game, I'd imagine he's at least marginally smart.
What game is it?
No, dude. Do you know how many hacking clients there are for Battlefield 4? It's a
Uh,
Z from $30.
yeah. Well, he's smart enough to acquire $30 to pay for it, I guess.
Alright, let me see if this guy starts immediately doing poop now that I'm specking him.
Immediately doing poop. What is
Well, he
that?
has like a 4 KD right now. Oh god, he has a 7 KD.
What is that red glowing circle with arrows next to Amber? Is that like
Oh, that is
a
this thing.
Q thing? Oh, that's cool.
It's like when you press F in Destiny 2.
Which I, of course, would know, because I've definitely played Destiny. Yep.
Oh, nice. I don't have to redo that. That's great.
Oh, this poor soul has to use the E100. Truly a fate
I was
worse than
mind
death.
blown when I found out that was a real gun.
Oh, shit.
I thought it was fake for sure. I don't know if there's any... Oh, no, there is. The vast majority of guns in Battlefield 4 are real, as opposed to, like, Rainbow Six Siege.
Interesting.
I mean, excluding the obvious, like
DBV.
final stand weapons. Like, are there any Battlefield 4 weapons that are fake?
DBV-12, I think is what it's called. It's basically the
Uh,
shotgun that looks like an AK-12. That doesn't exist.
no, actually. I do think that there was at least one, prototype model that it's known as the AK-12-76.
Yeah, but it didn't actually function like in the way that it did, and it definitely was not called a
Yeah,
DBV-12.
true.
What I do know is that because I specifically did research on that because I was curious about that. I was like, is there actually an AK-12? What they did say is that there is an equivalent version developed by a different company called the Vepr, which you may have seen in. I don't know. In a game, it exists in a game. I forgot the name of it, but what is that game I'm thinking of? Dude, you're hitting the shit out of those fucking magma
Yeah.
balls.
It's weird how the,
They're 4 levels above my level, so yeah, I kinda...
Gotcha, yeah.
it's weird how the, AK-12 DMR variant in Battlefield 4 is named the SVD, when technically it should be the SVK-12.
Yeah, that's true.
What is you?
This
Frig,
the
interesting.
those dudes remind me of the dudes from Slime Rancher. If you've ever played
Yep,
that.
yep. That's my same thoughts.
I'm also tempted to think the
You,
slimes from Minecraft, but those are square.
Yeah.
But in terms of like animations, almost the same.
Oh, why are you up there? Get the
Man,
fuck
it's a shame. The prototype
Sit down.
AK-12 looks so much cooler.
I'll catch up.
What? I'm talking about Genshin. Or what is it? Genshin?
Genshin Impact.
With an S.
No,
right?
I was just mentioning, something, like, not necessarily related to your conversation.
Oh, I thought you were like disagreeing with me. I'm like, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I've seen a photo of the AK-12
Harbor time.
in production now, and it looks kind of poop compared to the prototype.
Yeah, it's still okay. Rest in peace, Mikhail Kalashnikov, though.
2011, right?
No, more recent than that. It was like 2016, 2018.
Oh, really?
I think. Maybe it was like 2018. I don't know. It was definitely not 2011. You think that? You think that? Never mind. That actually makes sense. I was gonna say, I know he was alive during the production of the AK-15. I know that.
Fuck, I
People
forgot
keep
who I was
saying
spectating.
that you can't kill people with Barbara, but you definitely can. You just need to make sure they don't have any shields that don't go good with her. Like this shield I'm breaking right now for that, and then Barbara can
And
finish it
then
off.
splash.
All of the actual damage here is Barbara, because Noelle can't actually do any damage unless it's the shield there.
Yeah. It did not seem like it was doing any damage.
Barbara is OP. People need to appreciate her more.
You seem to
And
be doing that.
she's not just a healer. She's a tanky healer.
A tinky healer?
A tanky healer.
Oh,
She's a
tank.
tank. She doesn't do a lot of damage. I'll give her that. Her damage is slow over time, but if you just keep hitting it,
Excuse me,
eventually
sorry.
you knock him down. Like she's sturdy. She's sturdy.
Prin has been looking at this screen for quite a while.
Which screen? Oh, did Prin mute her mic again and stop talking?
I don't know, maybe she's not here, but I'm just looking at Greenfellow. Wait, you guys are, and it's been like that for a bit, so I'm like, alright. She just noped out of the conversation once we started talking about mitosis. She's like, oh, okay, you guys lost me. Adventure rank 20? I thought you were 20.
Man,
No, I'm
what?
at Venture rank like 11 or 12.
What is that at the
Oh.
bottom then? Is that not your rank?
Oh. Okay, so my characters are all level 20. My actual world level is
Oh, it's
0.
12.
My adventure rank is 12.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Apparently I got stuff.
Man, I was hoping that yesterday somebody would be hosting an Among Us lobby. I wanted to put the elite fingies on someone.
I was gonna play it, and then what happened yesterday?
We do have the gamer rule, so if
I
you
don't
need
remember.
gamers for Among Us, you can ping it.
I actually don't remember what happened yesterday. What did I do yesterday? I can't name. Oh, I was editing a lot of videos. Yeah. Yeah. Content.
Elite fingies.
Elite fingies.
I was doing a race in Forza Motorsport 7, 125 laps around like a NASCAR circuit. I got fucking fishtailed by some asshat, and I had to quit at 50 laps in.
Were you playing online against other people or against AI?
No, I was playing against bots. I was just angry.
Ah, I see. I was gonna say, in that game, can't you like rewind time? I could be misremembering that, but
I don't play with rewind.
oh, that's the only reason I play. If I'm playing Forza, it's for the rewind. Otherwise, I'll play Project Cars.
Yeah, see, I'm one of those people who thinks they're too good to use rewind, and then they end up alt F4ing 2 laps into a 100 lap race.
Yeah. That all of those things you said, they make a little sense. Cider Lake.
Whenever you need me, I'll be there.
Plus, I mean, you get more credits if you disable rewind.
That's true.
Though I don't necessarily need them, I'll just run a 4-hour race around Nürburgring and get like fucking 500,000 credits easy.
That's a lot.
Boring, but easy. Just as long as I feel like doing a lot of laps of the Nürburgring.
Are you there, Glia?
Hello.
N7 Jutsu to be T-Bane next time he says some racist
Oh,
shit. I wonder what he said.
my thing is all fuckety.
Might as well do some key lines,
See,
because I
what'd he
don't
say?
have anything else to do except sleep, because I gotta wake up at 8 tomorrow.
Oh, you gotta wake up early too? Well, then again, it's it's probably not one. It's probably. Oh my god! I just looked at the
Hmm?
time. Oh fuck.
Oh,
Oh, I don't
won't
have
you
school
be a
tomorrow.
good
Oh,
girl
I don't
and
have
die
classes
for
tomorrow.
me?
Oh, okay,
Ugh.
that's right. That's right. Oh man, I was about to be like, I gotta wake up at like 9, and it's 2 a.m. for me. Uh, but A, that's not true. I have to wake up at 11, and B, for
Someone
Mondays
needs
and Wednesdays.
assistance.
And B, I'm in. I don't have class.
Hmm.
Yippee, me, classes, all that good stuff.
Mm. Before I do that,
You said that you work at a what was it? A bakery or a deli? It was one of those two. I think
deli,
it was a deli.
deli.
Okay. Deli, which means what is a delicacy, right? That's what it is.
Can you do something for me really quick?
Is it die? Because no, I don't know.
No, 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 no. Well, actually, it's a string of things. It's a
Hmm.
string of requests.
I like
Okay, so
strings.
first, I would like for you to name a decade.
1980.
20.
1980. Okay. So, uh,
Probably should have gone with a decade. I know. That was before I was born.
1980. Okay. Now I need a manufacturer.
I'm assuming a car manufacturer, not like any
Yes.
manufacturer. Um, any manufacturer of cars? Lotus?
I think this game has Lotus. Yes.
Yeah. Lotus is underrated. I like their Lotus Elise. Pretty good.
I think I know what I'll be
That's the
saddled
only one
with.
I know, though. I'm not a big car person anymore.
2002 Lotus Esprit. Epic. There are no Lotus vehicles in 1980, so we'll have
Not
to go with.
surprised. Okay, here, let's go with a better manufacturer. One that actually makes cars. Hyundai.
Hyundai. I think I'd. Yeah, you're gonna have to go with another one. There's only three cars, and they're all the same.
Gotcha, okay. Subaru? Or however you pronounce it. Subaru? Subaru?
Subaru?
Subaru, that's how it is. Yeah.
Let's see. I think there's something. Ah, fuck! I gotta use the pickup truck.
Alright then. Dude, that guy will not die. Oh, okay, there you go. Ooh boy, those were a bunch of words that probably made sense to you.
Subaru Brat.
It
That's
means
sound
probably
for it, guys.
do. I don't know. There's not really anything I have that can break that shield down, which is kind of sad. But you can play this game with multiple people. I think I'd like to do that at some point, but
That's what I thought you were doing at first. I thought you were playing with Artemis and Prin.
nah, we were all playing a separate game.
I'm surprised. Well, never mind. I was gonna say, I'm surprised you're struggling when they're level 14, and I remembered, oh, you're only level 12, so. Makes sense.
Well, they're level. My character's level 20, so my character's. The thing is that I don't know what type these guys are.
Yeah.
And oh shit,
That
bubble.
bubble's chasing you down.
It's soap elemental. Okay, once I beat this guy, I can focus on the tough one. Okay. I guess I can try this.
That is not doing great for damage on that shield.
Okay.
Did somebody
then I'll
do
have to
something?
try-
Did someone start a stream? That's what it sounded like.
I did.
You started a
I
stream.
might have to end it though, cause seems like my PC is chugging.
Ooh, yeah. Chug it, chug
How's
it,
the
chug
stream? Is it doing okay?
yeah. I mean, there's some frame dropping, but it's okay.
Let me drop the Wait, how do
Drop the
I
base.
Let's
stream
try.
40p?
Don't bring out the fire type against the water type.
Crystal.
Ooh, the crystallize does something.
I had a gamer tag on Xbox that was polycrystallized.
Interesting.
I didn't know until after I created that name what it meant.
Oh. What does it mean?
It means basically to turn multiple material, or what is it, not elemental fragments into crystals. AKA polycrystalline.
The RX-8 was a bad idea.
Oh yeah, lost my wealth.
So this is the original resin
No.
thing.
It's the light.
I can hear her in the background.
Give me shit. I don't need more
Come on. Speed and power.
Oh, wow, I saw that. I saw that turn.
Out of my way, assholes.
Oh my god. Ooh, wow. Sind für sein Arschloch. By the way,
Epic, I just pissed away all my progress.
I specifically went in and added, even though it was already implied, just for you, I added and Latin into the Romance languages category or channel.
Yay!
Even though it was already implied because it is a Romance language, because I put and etc. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna specifically put and Latin for Leah, just so she knows.
Yay. Latin is one of the
You know
best
what?
romance languages.
I have never
Fair
heard
play
it
for
being spoken
fucking
for
losers.
obvious reasons.
Como te llamas, Orie?
That sounds a lot less like Latin and more like other languages. That being said, I have never listened to Latin being spoken. Yeah, that's
¿Quieres
it.
nombre TV?
Do you learn how to speak it as well?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's a vague approximation of what we think it would have sounded like, because, you know, they didn't have audio cassettes back during...
Yeah, like 1400, yeah. But
Are you sure? That shit's ancient.
I mean,
I like
Fucking
how you say
asshole!
1400s, and it's just like, yeah, we're talking negative 600.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, Latin's been around for. Latin was around before.
Before
Jesus.
Jesus was born.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like how we both go to Jesus. Out of
Well,
all
one
the
of the
possible
big things in Latin that a lot of people don't get is AD, which people think is after death, but it's
Which
actually
makes
Anno Domini.
yeah, exactly. It's Anno
Because it's
Domini, right?
It's
Where
not
do you always
after he
feel?
died. It's after he was born.
Which makes
Oh,
I don't know
shit.
why people ever thought it's after death. It's the year he was
They're
born. You think he
dumb.
died the year he was born? I don't know
Because
how
Americans
anyone
are
could even
stupid and they
possibly
don't
do
do
that.
they don't do research.
Like, sure, if you don't know what it is, that's fine. But after death, he was born that
I'll
year.
catch up.
Well, the whole reason why they probably did after death was they wanted to remember that AD was
Related to
the
Christ.
closer to our time, like
Yeah.
after something,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to research, so they were like, well, I don't want to accidentally say BC on my research paper, might as well just make up something so I can remember it in my head. Then they were like, yo guys, check out this cool thing I figured out. Just think of it like after death. And people
Yeah.
were like, oh shit, dude.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Do you know
At least
what?
that's
Oh.
Do you know what the whole phrase "Anno Domini" and then a bunch of other Latin? Do you know what that actually means?
Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord.
Yeah, in the year of our Lord.
Mhm.
There's more words after that, but I don't know what it is.
Depends. Oh god, creepy guy. Wait, barber time! Come here, dude. Stop being a wimp. Fucking
Wait, I'm
ninja.
gonna lower difficulty now. How did I end the first lap at a lower position? Actually, I know why.
The weather is interesting.
That's not why. I got spun out by a fucking dude.
Mm. Very different
Or
from
maybe they're a
getting spun
girl.
out
I
by
don't
a
know.
dude fucking.
What the
Important that you
fuck
put
is
the
going
fucking.
on?
However, they're an ass hat.
Okay, that's it. I'm just going for the crystal and leaving.
Apparently, reflective words being a post-modular auxiliary word is pretty rare outside of English, which I think is interesting. Although I bet none of those words made any sense to you. So I guess a better way of explaining it is the way we use himself, right, or they, themselves, and shit like that. We'll say the president himself was at the meeting, right? So we use himself in a case of like to represent that it was the president and nobody else. But we'll also use himself in a reflexive case, meaning the president loves himself, right?
Of course he does.
Yeah. And apparently that's rare outside of English. Like in German, it's
Fuck you, bitch. My brakes are better.
in German you would just say he loves him, and it's implied that it's himself. You don't need the self part.
Hmm.
Me love me.
Yeah, me love me.
Go, Barbara, go!
It's I love me, but yeah.
So you know how in our language there's or in English at least, there's a uh he attacked him, right?
Yeah.
Or there's his and then his. Wait, hang on.
His
I
and
have to
his.
remember.
That's good.
I have to remember. Shit. There was this thing where it was like somebody who is his, but then somebody who is. No, I'm just sounding stupid. I must shut up.
No, it's. I mean, I think I'm starting to get what you're getting at. Not that
So
I know 100% because that'd be a lie, but I think I'm getting it.
Suum
Oh,
is his, and
get fucked, idiot.
Suus
Get
is
fucked. Oh
also
shit.
his. But there's
Yeah, I
two
got fucked.
his in Latin because we only have one his in English. But it's like, what's the word? Oh, who left?
Prin
Ah,
and her stream stopped, of course.
I see.
Damn, you've got some big fucking or good strength. be able to climb
Yeah.
up that mountain. Shit,
Yeah.
I could barely
It,
climb up a fucking fence in real life.
it's the power of Barbara.
The power of Barbara. I have the power
Jesus.
of God and enemy on my side. But anyways, as you were saying about the hymn, if you can remember.
So I can't
Matsuta.
open this. Hang on. I love it when they throw a puzzle at me and I'm just like, oh, it's orange, got it.
Yeah.
Um, trying to
Fucking
remember what the difference between the two hises were in Latin. It had something, I think, to do with um like ownership of something.
Okay. Is
So
it like owning? Is it like possession of an object versus representative possession relative to a person? Like his dog versus, or I'm sorry, his car versus his son? Because I know that's a thing in other languages.
I don't think it was that. Um,
Okay. Ooh, look at that
yeah,
map.
yep, that's the goal.
Yao Gong.
Let's see how many things I can give.
What
Cool.
I do know is that in German, uh, it's the word placement is very fluid. Like in
Mm,
English, in terms of word placement, it's pretty strict. You've got to put words in a very specific order,
yep, yep.
except for maybe like auxiliary verbs or words. So, like for example, the word very, um, or enough. Like you could say, um, we. Actually, I can't think of any examples, but there are cases where it's like you could say words and you could put it in different positions and it means the exact same thing. Um,
Yeah.
But very rarely is that the case. Like, if you want to say he is with his dog, you've basically got to say those exact words in that order. Um,
Can't say his dog is he
yeah,
with he.
his dog is with he, right? You can say his dog is with him, but then you're changing the word.
Yeah.
So like you can juxtapose the sentence. But in German, what's interesting is that all of the words are all of the words, regardless of the case, are um, indicative of its position as an object. So, for example, in English, you have the word you, where it's like you could say, you are there, and I love you. The word you in either sentence is either an object or a subject. It's the same word. Um,
Yes. Yeah, because English doesn't have different that's another thing in Latin is because there's so many different variations on words in order to determine if they're nominative, accusative, prepositions,
yes.
object,
Yeah.
etc. So the order doesn't matter as much as in English where there is no difference except for the placement.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I can imagine that also. It's also maybe the same thing where it's like in German you have du and dich and dir, right? And it depends on how it just depends on how it's being used. All of the words mean you in English, but it depends on how the word is being used in. It depends on how the word is being used in German. For example, it's like I said with the example of I. You are there, I love you, and he is at your place, which obviously is a different word, but he's at the place of you, I guess is a better example, where it's like, or it, he, It's kind of weird. Now that I think about it, it's kind of weird. In German,